Hey, all, my name's Bryant Young.
And Derek Chaney.
Here with the Decent Dads podcast. Brand new episode this week.
Yeah, man, a fun one we had today with our buddy Mark Spillane.
Yeah, we had the expert in sports on. So we got the opportunity to talk all things sports. Are you going to coach? What kind of sports are we going to play? Did you or did you not play high school or college hockey? And were you actually worth a damn skating or not? I don't really know.
You'll find all the answers here. First of all, but hey, we talked about some fun stuff too. Being a news anchor, he has weird hours.
Mm-hmm.
How that factored into parenting as well too.
Sure. And not getting to raise your kid around family. He and his wife are both from the coast, and so coming to the Midwest, that's a drastically different
significant distance from any immediate family at all, and how they're working through that. But yeah, man, it was a fun episode.
Yeah.
Took a lot away from it.
He brought the experience, he brought the fun, and hey, a couple of decent dad jokes this time. I'm proud of us.
I think we had three. I think we had three solid dad jokes.
3 with a kicker. I love it. So I think we jump right into this. What do you think?
Let's do it, man.
All right, Decent Dads podcast. Here we go. Welcome back to the Decent Dads podcast. We're here to tell dad jokes, drink coffee, and build a community of dads navigating fatherhood together. I'm Bryant Young, fearless leader, co-host, girl dad, and your friendly local insurance agent based out of Springfield, Missouri. And now, before we get started on today's episode, please help me welcome the coolest co-host with the most, a fantastic soon-to-be father of 3, and the home loan expert. Folks, put your hands together and welcome the incomparable Mr. Derek Chaney. How are you, Derek?
Doing good. It's a good day for a good day.
It's a good day.
You better be careful. Mark might try to hire you after that introduction.
I didn't know Michael Buffer hosted this podcast.
Right?
Jeez. And in this corner.
All right. Dang, man. But no, like I said, doing good. I think both of us mowed our yards earlier today.
Yes, we did.
In our New
style.
Balance. So, yeah, feeling very daddish today.
Dude. Sorry. Please continue.
We'll get there. We'll get to it. Okay. But no, got a great guest on the podcast today. So we'll get into that here in just a second. But we also have some hoppy coffee on hand.
Yeah, we do have our hoppy coffee. This coffee is actually brought to you by our friends at Buff Studio, the official coffee sponsor of the Decent Dads podcast. Buff Studio is a full-service architecture, engineering, and design firm with offices in Bentonville, Arkansas, and Springfield, Missouri. Learn more at buffstudio.co. Thanks, Buff Studio, for your support of the podcast and Decent Dads everywhere. Buff Studio, be a Buffalo. Thanks, guys.
You guys are sponsored and everything.
Say, Mark's like, you guys are so
it's official,
so professional.
It's amazing.
It's official.
So where's the sales department? Where do you see
behind that camera over there? Yeah. You can see her. She's back there.
Oh man, but no, Mark, man, we're excited to have you. Like Brian mentioned earlier, but we know you a little bit, but not super well. So if you will, tell us who you are, what you do, give us your dad resume, tell us how many kids you got, which one's your favorite, and we'll go from there.
Okay, yeah. My name's Mark Spillane, sports director at KY3. I have one baby girl.
So it's easy for you to say which one's your favorite.
She's my favorite. No competition, so she's automatically the favorite. 6 months today, actually.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
6 months?
Which means I am 6 months into my 32nd year of life. So, she stole my birthday. Yeah, she stole my birthday back in October.
Really?
We shared the same birthday.
That's
so
cool.
I'm halfway. We're both halfway on the year.
Well,
so
that makes tracking it pretty easy.
I was going to say, you'll
it
never
does.
forget it.
I'll never forget it, but it'll never be my birthday ever again.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, you guys get joint gifts, but they're both just for her.
Well, and my wife was born on the 25th of October, so she's 11 days later. So now October, I'm just wiped out completely.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You're an
because
afterthought,
for
pal.
the first 14 days, it's just a lead up to Maddie's birthday.
Of course.
And then after that, it's just the lead up
lead
to
up to
Michelle's
Mom's. Yeah,
birthday, and then
absolutely.
it's Halloween, and then forget it, it's Thanksgiving and Christmas, and before you know it, I'm 85 years old, and I've never celebrated a birthday.
How
The
old am
whole
I
year's
again?
gone.
Oh man,
I
but
love
it's
it.
like after you hit 21, how important is the birthday?
That's true. I'm kind of sick of counting. Once
Yeah.
that 3 popped up, I was like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah,
We
totally get
quit
it.
celebrating until
Well,
you
it's
hit, till you hit like 90 or something. It's like every half birthday from then on out you count it. But
Well, right now, every day's a little bit closer to 40, so it's like, all right, well, here we go.
if you're this guy,
Whatever.
I'm just kidding. I'm right there with you, buddy.
So we joked about this ahead of time. At 6 months, she's probably not having tantrums yet, but I assume that there's some version of a tantrum that you're dealing with the little right now.
Yes.
What are you guys dealing with at your house?
This week, she's just started to roll in the crib, right? So she'll fall asleep on her back or her side and then roll over and stay asleep, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the first night she did it, I was scared out of my mind because I checked the camera and she's face down and I'm like, what is that? No, so I'm ready to run in there, roll her over, but then I don't want to wake her up. Do I wake Michelle up? Ask Michelle, don't want to wake her up. So I'm Googling, and
That's
everyone
actually
online.
probably more dangerous than the other one.
Exactly, right, exactly. Everyone online's like, it's
what kind
fine.
of tantrum do I want here?
Every baby does this. Don't freak out. I'm like, okay.
All right.
Don't freak out. All right. Okay. So that was my mindset.
My
Don't freak
adrenaline's
out.
already up. Don't tell me that.
Yeah. So she's passed out like that. Everything's good for a few hours, and then she'll wake up and not realize how she got to that spot, and won't know how to roll back over, and then just starts yelling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
face into the pillow.
Yeah. It's like, stop doing that. Just roll back over. You know how to do
happy,
it.
Right?
And you'll be fine. So eventually I went in there and rolled her over. And all she did was roll back to her front and start yelling again.
Of course.
And it's almost like she doesn't speak English yet, so you can't explain to her that this doesn't work.
And they say, go in there and try and calm her down. What am I going to say to her? Hey, roll over, kid. What are you doing?
Roll over, sit up, bark, all those things.
Jump, fetch. Yeah.
Oh, man. Gosh, that's rough.
What about you, DC? What are you dealing with?
Well, I thought it was perfect that we had Mark on the episode here because mine literally involves sports.
Perfect.
This time around.
Perfect.
And so Liam started T-ball this year. Okay.
Did he? I didn't know this.
Yep. So he started a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
So he's had a couple practices, right? And he's having fun. So that's great. And it doesn't involve Liam really. It involves little Brody Bear. We are in the throes of the terrible twos with this kid. Okay.
Yeehaw.
So he knows Liam's playing T-ball. And his practices are at 11 on the weekends, and Brody knows when his T-ball practice is. So in the morning he goes out to the yard and he's like, I want to play baseball. He says this, right? And we're like, well, you're not old enough yet. You can't play. And he's like, no, I want to play. And so he proceeds to take the tee out there in the yard. We have a little tee ball set up. Take the tee out there, put balls on the tee. He hits the balls. He does really good for his age.
Of course he will, man. He's going to be an athlete. I'm telling you. He's going to be a stud.
But he doesn't understand that he can't play on Liam's team. So then we go to practice, right? And so before practice, some of the kids are just out there playing on the field, and we're like, all right, Brody, you can play out here, but you got to stay in the outfield, right? Away from all the other kids. And then practice starts, and we're like, all right, Brody, you gotta hop off the field. Practice is starting. Oh man, breaks his heart.
Oh
I
no,
mean, it's bad. And this kid,
just
he's
freaking out.
Yeah, he has an anger issue, and he is just losing.
And
it.
he's armed with a bat.
Well, that was the thing. He's dragging Liam's bat around.
Yeah,
it's you got to take that away from him. And then he was wanting the balls too, which luckily the balls are a little bit softer. But
that's a shin problem waiting to happen. Little aluminum bat, just wink.
Oh yeah. And so he's pissed off and whatnot. And poor Allie, she had to take the brunt of it because, you guys haven't experienced T-ball yet, but as you can imagine, you have 4, 5, and 6-year-old kids out there, so it's really just herding a bunch of feral cats out here, right? So 100%. It's you have the 2 coaches, and you have 3, 4, 5 parents out there that are just trying to keep these kids corralled / semi-focused.
Stay in the infield. Right? Stay in the infield.
And so I'm out there trying to help the other parents out, and Allie's over here just holding Brody, and he's just losing it. And they had to go to the car, and she had to bust out the bubbles, and she's trying every single thing to keep this kid happy, and he is just not having it at all. So luckily practice is only an hour long, so we survived, or I should say Allie survived. But yeah, so we have 6 more weeks of that, so we'll see how that goes.
Sounds like Allie and Brody need to go to a playground during baseball practice.
That's what I told that to her. I was like, maybe we shouldn't bring Brody to T-ball.
Get that kid out of there.
You need a diversion for sure.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah, or it's they need to have a playground there at the baseball fields or something. But yeah, we'll figure it out.
Depending on where it is, I guess you could just go.
It's at Killian. It's at Killian. There's no playgrounds. Trust me. We looked.
Yeah, there are soccer fields.
Go run around that field. Go.
Yeah. But that's what we're dealing with. So
nice.
What about you guys?
So mine, we've talked about the terrible twos just now. Elsie is at the tail end of them, and I'm actually moment of vulnerability here. I am struggling with Elsie's tantrums. like bad. Like I'm actually struggling with it.
Yeah.
So the tantrum is really me more than anything else, where I'm the one having a pissy attitude about the whole thing. She just straight up ignores every ask that I have of her, right? Like just straight up full blown do the opposite of what Dad says. And Liv keeps telling me it's because I react. Elsie then gets a giggle out of it, and so now it's a game.
That's so true.
Where it's literally
so true.
screw with Dad, the game. So I'm a sales guy by trade, right? Like I'm a salesperson. I'm used to spending my days like convincing people that the coverage the package I put together for them is the right piece of advice. But most
can't
of the
sell
time,
a 2-year-old,
right? But like most of the time, those people are rational human beings.
Yeah, right.
And so I can understand what they're saying. I can overcome objections because they come from a place of I can understand where you're coming from.
Right.
I got a 2-year-old. None of it makes any freaking sense. It's all just complete nonsensical bullshit, frankly. She is just extremely defiant and like actively ignoring and doing everything the opposite of I'm doing. So really it's the tantrum this week is me. Like I went to Liv yesterday. I was like, I'm struggling right now. Like I don't know what to do. And I've tried every like reverse psychology thing or give her the instead of asking her to do something, we're going to do the thing, but I'm going to ask you, do you want to do this or that both lead to the end goal?
Right.
Like, do you want to walk there yourself or do you want me to pick you up to go walk over there?
So then she just doesn't go anywhere?
But then she just goes, I want to play with the doll. Listen here, dude.
Have you tried the don't do that?
Yes. And,
No?
and she goes, okay, and sits down. Yeah.
She's too smart.
That's
She's
the only
too
time
smart.
she actually listens. Yeah.
I'm not falling for this.
Dude, it's
I'm no amateur dad.
it's freaking tough right now. So the tantrum was me going to my wife yesterday going, I'm struggling. I don't know what the hell to do. I can't relax. This is unbelievable. But so I need a moment of reflection, and I spent the evening yesterday after Elsie went to bed just kind of sitting there on the couch like rocking. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
Two coffees in hand.
Dude, I'm telling you right now.
Those might not be helping.
Yeah, exactly.
A little jittery.
Yeah. Coffees. But then we get up this morning, and she was the sweetest kid in the world. We go to breakfast, and we hang out with family, and the in-laws are in town, so we spent a much time with them going to breakfast place, and Elsie was a complete sweetheart.
Oh, dude, that's like...
So there's just no rhyme or reason to it. I talked about the like normal human beings being rational, and 2-year-olds just aren't. And that's just the way things
what they
go.
want when they want, right?
Exactly, dude. And there's just no way around it.
I saw like on Instagram or somewhere, it's like the definition of a toddler, where it's like they torment you all day and never listen to a single word you say, and like goes on and on and on, all these things that they do, like terrible things they do. And then at the end of the night, they kiss you and say, I love you, and then you forget about it. It's like,
it's like a
so
potion
true.
at the end.
Yeah. That is so true. They can do the smallest thing and make everything all better.
Well, it's like that perfect wedge shot into the green on 18. You had the shittiest day all day long, hitting it all over creation, but you hit a wedge to 3 feet on 18. It's like, I love this game. This is the greatest thing
so
ever.
good.
You
I'm
walk in
coming
that
back next
clubhouse, you
weekend.
can't wait to go back out.
It's like, let's go again.
We should just start over.
Short-term
Wanna go back to
memory.
one?
Oh, yeah. Well, Mark, the next thing we always ask everybody is, what's your best dad hack?
Dad hack alert!
That you've been able to implement with your kiddos, or maybe what's some good dad advice that somebody has shared with you that you've really been able to utilize?
Best dad hack is just to listen to my wife.
Preach.
Yeah. Yeah.
True.
That's it. No, that's the whole thing. So it's funny because for Michelle and I, in most things, whether it's making a purchase or finances, whatever it is, I'm the one that always does the research on what's probably best. She doesn't want to do the research on that stuff. But when it comes to Maddie and parenting and all that, she's nonstop with the research. So she's way ahead of me.
Okay.
She knows everything that she wants us to try and do, why she wants us to try and do it. So I'm like, cool. Let's do it. Whatever you think sounds good to me. So that's why I joke about that. But something we stumbled upon in the beginning when Maddie was really small, when we were having a hard time getting her to go to sleep, was actually putting a heating pad in the bassinets.
Cool.
I think we found it on like a Reddit thread.
Okay. Really?
So let's say you're getting her ready for bed, right? She's drinking her milk or her breast milk, whatever, or formula, whatever it may be. Put the heating pad on for like that 15 minutes, and then
Before she's in there.
Yep. So we put that down.
That's a good idea.
Put that down, turn that on, and then we actually took one of Michelle's T-shirts, since it smelled like her in the beginning especially, put that on as well, and then leave it for 15 minutes while you're dealing with the baby, and then turn it off, put her in there.
Love it.
And then when you wake her up in the middle of the night, or she wakes up in the middle of the night to eat, same thing, turn it back on while she's not in there. Turn it off, of course, before the baby goes in there. Right. But then it was nice and warm. It seemed like it helped because as soon as we started doing that, it made a big difference. And that's been a recommendation we've been giving to friends is get a heating pad, put it in the bassinet, and use that damn thing.
Yeah. Dude,
well, and it's the T-shirt too. I like the T-shirt thing.
Yeah, it seemed like that helped.
Dang. Yeah.
Especially because Elsie was and has been for almost 3 years now a mama's girl, 100%. And so I would have loved to have that piece of advice. That's a great idea. Yeah. What about you, DC? What do you got?
Well, we just got back from vacay, so we ran down to Florida, and I was really against this idea at first, vacationing with friends with kids, because I was like, I don't want to watch somebody else's kids while I'm on vacation. Like the only reason like I was like semi okay with it, I was like, oh hey, it's gonna cost half as much for the house down there, right?
Sure.
So I'm like, okay, I was like, I'll entertain this idea, right? But then we get down there. We went with Allie's sister and her family. Nice. They have 2 girls, 10 and 6, so they're a little bit older than our boys.
Babysitter age.
And it was honestly, it was awesome. Like it worked out so good because their younger girl, who's 6, and Liam, they just played together the whole time.
Perfect.
Kept each other entertained. The older one, she loved being like the babysitter and
that's great.
Chasing Brody around, right? And so it worked out really good that you have somebody else to keep your kids like entertained so that you can enjoy vacation a little bit more, right?
Yeah, love it.
And too, the couple that we went with, they were awesome, and they were like, hey, here's what we're doing today. You guys don't have to do this if you don't want to. You can go do your own thing. And so there was some days where we'd all go down to the beach together. There were some days where they go do their thing, we go do our thing. But I'd highly encourage everybody to try that. Try to get kids with similar age. Go on vacation. Now, obviously, a lot of it depends on who you're going with as to if it works or not.
True.
Right?
Lined up parenting styles.
Luckily, right. I mean, luckily, we knew this couple super well beforehand. But
that helps.
Yeah, so that worked out really good for us, and we're definitely down to do it again.
So you don't recommend like you're on the plane, you find another couple with a couple kids, and just say, hey, I don't know where you're going, but if you want to split the house, you come for the weekend.
Hey, I'm a numbers guy, so I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's split it.
You guys look like you know what you're doing. Yeah. You want to stay under the same roof as us?
Their kids haven't made noise this whole flight.
I know, right? You're like, hey,
what are they doing?
My kids can take some notes from me.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go.
That's really fun. Did you guys drive?
We did drive. Okay. We did drive. Dude, our little guys too, man. They're little road trippers, man.
They've had enough windshield time though, where they're used to it.
Yeah. So they did really good. We drove straight back Friday.
Nice.
I mean, the last like hour or so, you could tell they were getting tired. They were getting over it, but I mean, they did super good.
That's awesome. You did that all in one trip.
What about you?
So we joked about doing the lawn before this. My dad hack is just to tell people to really embrace daddom. Just lean into it, man. I mean, you're a dad now. Just lean into it. I left a gathering early to make sure the yard was mowed before you guys got here, to make sure that I was establishing a correct level of dad dominance.
There you go.
I really wanted to make sure that you guys knew that I diamond cut the front yard and make sure that you saw that.
I thought I was at Busch Stadium when I got here. I was like, wow, that was a quick trip up to Busch
enough,
here.
You'll see the arch cut in there too. I have a special mower just for that.
Somebody would notice.
I'm like, the cards are on the road. What is happening here?
What's going on? No, I was with my in-laws at dinner, and they're like, hey, we're gonna breakfast. Hey, we're gonna go to Bass Pro, and I was like, hey, I can't. Live in Elsie can go with y'all. I've got to go mow the yard. I got to make sure that the yard's ready to go for the guys get here. So embrace the daddom, man. Just go into it.
It looks impeccable.
Thanks,
but that's one thing like I've always wondered too. It's like, what is the dad obsession with like making your yard look like immaculate?
I don't know.
Right?
I think it's the opportunity to get out of the house to not hear children yelling for about an hour to an hour and a half at a time.
That's what it is, right? It's like the nicer I can make it look, the longer it takes to make it look that way.
Maybe you have to go to the store, get some sod, get some mulch.
I don't have the right blade on the mower.
Fix the mower depending on what part of the yard you're working in.
Got to go buy the grinder from Lowe's to really sharpen up those blades.
Ran out of fertilizer.
Man, there we go. We figured it out, guys. We figured it out.
Dude, Dude, I went down the rabbit hole this last week talking about like stupid yard mowing stuff. There are a pair of Nikes. I think they're Air Max 90s, but they look like they've got turf on them.
Oh.
And they look, I mean, it's like the dad mowing shoe. And it's Air Max 90s, but with AstroTurf on them. But they're only on they only came out like once 3 or 4 years ago. They're on StockX for like $5,000.
Sure, that seems worth it.
It's like, yeah, mowing shoes.
Yeah, 5 G's for some shoes to mow the yard with.
Sorry, I got off track there. So you talked about being the sports director at KY3 here in town, our local news station. We just wanted to talk about that because you are going to be the first like on-air personality dad that we've had on anybody in the news. I assume
celebrity, you can say.
Celebrity, yeah. It's really what I was trying not to say.
We're trying to keep you humble, Mark, but you caught us. Okay.
So I assume your schedule is different than the 9 to 5 people of
very
the world.
much so. Yeah,
like, we talked a little bit about it before we started going about like the network size part of news and trying to move up the ladder and knowing that you're going to move. I just wonder if you guys kind of made any parenting decisions based on the fact that you might not be where you're having your daughter here in just a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So I wondered if you would just kind of talk about your job and talk about your schedule and all that.
Sure. Yeah, I'll start with the schedule. The schedule is weird. You know, I go in the afternoons like 3 o'clock. So I'm there till 11:30. If I go in a little later, I'm there a little later. Like sometimes I'm at work till midnight.
Wow.
I actually don't mind being there later because everyone's out of the building. I can get a lot done.
Sure.
You know, I
That makes
can
sense.
plan ahead, things that I don't have time to get to during my actual work day. But then, you know, get home late. And so in some ways it's very difficult because I'm not there at night with Maddie. I stop home. Yeah, I stop home as much as I can and help with that. But for the most part, a lot of that's on Michelle,
Sure.
Which is difficult for her. And, you know, and I recognize that and appreciate that, obviously, that she takes on such a burden with that.
Well, you said it in your dad hack.
Yes.
It's lean on the rock star, right?
Yeah,
Like, lean on
well,
the way.
you know, so Scottie Pippen was a great basketball player, but he was no Michael Jordan, right? So I'm happy to be Scottie and let her be MJ. You know,
Preach.
you know what I'm saying?
So true, man. So true.
You know, Scottie's still a Hall of Famer, though. So let's not get
Don't worry, you still get 75. You'll still get your
still get my flowers. Anyway,
I still got 6 rings. Okay.
in certain ways, it's actually been helpful in the beginning because I get home late, I'm up late, so a lot of times I'm still awake when Maddie was waking up.
Right.
So then I would just handle the overnights, and I still do anything that she needs overnight.
Nice.
Because then I'm able to sleep in because I don't have to get up and go to work, right? So then Michelle handles the morning, and then we work it out from there, whether, you know, usually we have somebody help out in-house. But even before that, when she was on maternity leave, like then she would take the mornings, and I would sleep in, but I would handle the overnight. So
That's awesome.
it actually, in some respects, in the beginning was probably easier than maybe two parents having an early start.
Schedule, right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, you know, that I guess it's kind of a win and lose there. Now that she's getting a little bit older and has a little bit more personality, like not being able to like be there for bedtime and stuff is a little bit tougher for sure. And then we didn't really think about, let's wait because we don't know when we're going to move because, as everyone always says, there's never really like a convenient time to have kids.
There's not.
So true.
No.
You know?
So true.
Right. So like your life's going to be turned upside down either way. And so we were just kind of like, it might take a year and a half. It might take 2 years. You know, you don't know. Yeah, I'm sure you guys know people. I mean, we've got friends and family who have struggled.
Sure.
So you don't know going in because it could be you, right? So we didn't think like, well, let's wait because what if you wait and then it takes a long time and now it's 3 years down the line and you're wondering, did we wait too long? Yeah,
Sure.
So we didn't really consider that. And then we were very lucky, didn't have any trouble, obviously. So that was a good thing. And now we just kind of have to make the best of the situation and deal with it as we go and move and see what happens here down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I wondered because I wasn't aware of the like area ranking or the station ranking system of like, you know, the largest news network the largest market in the country is New York, and that's number one, and then it trickles down. He was telling me Springfield is in the 50s.
70s.
So it's like 70s. Sorry.
70s, yeah.
So it's the same, like it's a range of largest to smallest, and number one being the biggest. And so you're constantly moving around. I was just curious, like, did you guys have any conversations about like, well, how are we going to approach, like, let's say she's in 3rd grade and all of a sudden, okay, we're going to move from Springfield to Chicago because we got a job in the bigger market. Did you guys have any of those conversations ahead of time or any of that?
No, I think it's something that we just felt like we would cross that bridge when we got there, kind of thing. Yeah. We want to get back closer to home, and that's a goal for us. But that's been a goal for us.
Sure.
Because at the same time, I don't want to try and get back closer to home if it means taking a worse job.
Sure.
Because my position at KY3 is one that I really enjoy. It's a good spot to be in. It's a great place to live. If Springfield were more easily accessible from where we're from in New Jersey and vice versa, we wouldn't be itching to leave.
Yeah.
Because we like being here.
Yeah.
And we like the area. We like the people that we've gotten to know, the friends that we've been able to make. Sure. Michelle works from home and has, developed a great career that she found while she was here in Springfield. So, it's not this area, it's where it's located, unfortunately. And so you just kind of have to deal with it in this business. It sucks. It sucks. Like, this business is brutal from a family side. And I know more people that have gotten out than that are still in that I've worked with. Because you get to a point where you're like, is it really worth it for me when my son's about to start playing high school soccer to never see him play, right? And so you make those moves. Luckily, Maddie's so young right now that I have time before I have to make that type of decision.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But, it might be one of the worst fields for families. Like, it just is. Especially doing sports.
Yeah.
Because sports are at night and they're on the weekends.
Oh, so true.
You know what I mean?
About that part.
Well,
So
me and Allie we've been having this conversation for like the past year. She's a wedding planner, right? So her busiest times are nights and weekends and Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Absolutely.
And I'm fortunate and have a super flexible schedule and 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. But her, that's what she's looking to do on her side. She's like, I want to slow down because the boys are going to start getting into sports.
Right.
Those sports are going to be in the evenings or going to be on the weekends. And she's like, it's going to break my heart if I have to miss any of those. And, we were talking about T-ball earlier, and she's going to miss Liam's first actual game because she has a wedding. And
that's tough.
She was talking about it just today, and she was about in tears talking about it. And so,
I hate that for her.
So that's just conversations you have to have, and like you said, cross those bridges when they come, and you'll figure it out. But
I know people who've done it for 30 years and raised kids, and they got through it, and they love it, and they obviously have a very strong spouse who is willing to help out and help carry that load. So it's not like it can't be done. It's been done before by thousands of people, but I know a lot of people who, even in their 20s before kids are just like, you know what, like, I'm just so sick of missing out. And I've had to say no to so many things back home and friends trips and family parties and things because we're just so far away and my schedule is tough, and I'm working like in the fall, for example, with all the high school football going on and the college football and everything we do on Friday nights. We're super limited on what we can do. I've had to, say no to going to weddings because of that. Not the closest weddings, of course, because and now that I'm sports director, I try to make sure that anytime anybody who's worked with me asks for something off, if it's important, like we'll make it work. You go.
We can swing it.
Yeah. We can swing it. Like my best friend's wedding, I was the best man, and his wedding was in September 2 years ago. There's nothing in the world that was stopping me from being in that room that day, right? So and I want to make sure that people have that opportunity if they work for us, but at the same time, that does leave a burden on everybody else. Like, I knew as sports director, leaving that day to go be best man in a wedding was putting everybody in a bind. And as far as I know, it went pretty well because I didn't really hear anything about it, right? But still, it was like those guys had to work a lot harder that day because of that. So it's a rough industry for it. It is.
And the beauty of building a team around you, right?
Well, Mark, you mentioned there, several times earlier that, living far away from family, like a significant distance from family, from where you grew up, from what you're used to. So what's that been like now that you guys have had Maddie, living such a long way away from family? Because I know we're fortunate. Our families live super close, so it's like,
and we lean on them heavy.
Yeah, it's like if we want to go on a date night, hey, call mom and dad. Hey, you guys want to watch the grandkids? Okay, great.
Yeah,
we'll come watch them, and you guys go do you. You guys, you can't do that.
No, we can't. It's tough. We haven't done like a true date night yet, just because I don't know that we're at the point yet where we're like
6 months is early.
Leave Maddie at home with somebody else, And like I said, we have somebody in home every day who we love, and she's great with Maddie. But it's, I don't know, it's different because Michelle's there. She's there working from home, you know, and if she's not there, like let's say she runs out to the gym, I'm usually still there. Right. So it's not the same. So it's tough. I mean, our families are great, especially the grandmas. I mean, they've been out here like 3 or 4 times each already here in 6 months.
That's awesome. Wow, that's impressive.
I mean, Michelle's parents, as soon as we told them Maddie was born, like their flight was booked in like 10 minutes.
Sweet.
And they were there the next day.
Good.
And
That's awesome.
my mom was a day behind.
Yeah.
So that's great that they've been able to come out, and they're both planning on coming out again here in a couple weeks. Michelle's got a work trip, so they're going to come out and help me out. So that way, you know, when I'm at work and everything, they can kind of take care of bedtime and stuff. But it's tough. It is tough.
Yeah.
And it's tough because we're both very family oriented. We have huge Italian families back home.
Yeah.
So growing up, every time a cousin had a birthday, we did a birthday party and everybody got together. We haven't been to those in years. And so it's you know, difficult knowing like if we did stay far away from home that Maddie wouldn't be involved with that stuff. So that's certainly something that we don't want that. Like we want her to be involved with that stuff.
Sure.
So it's been difficult for sure. It's from my perspective, you know, my parents lost both of their mothers very young. My dad's mom was gone before I was born, and my mom's mom was gone within a couple months of me being born. So I didn't get to know them, unfortunately. And then my grandfather on my dad's side was gone when I was 6. So we only had one grandparent, and he didn't really live that close. So for me, I never really spent time at grandma and grandpa's house. So I guess for me, like, it doesn't seem that different to not have them right around the corner in the early going.
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean?
Okay.
But for Michelle, it is different because her father's parents both passed before she ever knew them. But her grandfather's still alive. He's 98.
Oh, wow.
And her grandmother on her mom's side lived to be about 90. And she was always at their house. And she was like the classic Italian matriarch of the family kind of thing, like in the kitchen cooking nonstop. And if you came over, you better be hungry because you were going to eat. And if you didn't like it,
veal, you better sit down.
You're eating it anyway. And if you're not still hungry and you're full, doesn't matter, eat more. So it's been very different for Michelle not having that because she did grow up on that. She spent a lot of time as a little kid at her grandparents' house when mom and dad were at work.
Yeah.
So I think it's been tougher for her than it has been for me from that perspective. Not that it's been easy though by any means.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting too because I was having this conversation with somebody just the other day that one of my college buddies, between him and his wife, they have all 4 grandparents still.
Wow.
He's 35. So their grandparents are in their 80s and 90s, but he and his wife have all 4 of their grandparents.
That's amazing.
Whereas I have one left. But then I have some buddies that are the same spot that you're talking about where they hardly knew their grandparents. Or some of them still have great-grandparents rolling around when we were in college and stuff.
Right.
It's just it's so interesting to see the different dynamics of family like that.
You know, and I think part of why Michelle and I were not necessarily like eager to have kids, but ready to have kids earlier is because our parents did wait. And for her parents, it wasn't so much a choice as they just had some trouble. With mine, it was more of a choice. Like, you know, my dad was 36 when I was born. And so now I see him now, and he's super healthy, like doing great. But I want to be a little bit younger when Maddie's my age than he is right now. And so it's almost like it's flipped just because we had that experience of, well, I don't want to wait till I'm 36, or her dad was 40. Like, 31 is great because when she's 30, like, I'm barely going to be 60. You know, I'll probably be feeling great. So at least I hope, right? So there's also that side of it.
Well, we've got some buddies that are going to be empty nesters, like, and they're my age. They're 35, 36. They'll be empty nesters in the next couple of years.
That would be very bizarre. Right? That would be so bizarre.
But that's kind of how I look at it too. It's like not necessarily as like whenever I become a grandparent, but it's more like when the kids are going to be out of the house, it's like I still want to be at a good age where we can do a bunch of fun stuff. You know, now it's like we've raised them, we sent them out. Now, hey, let's focus.
Go away. I want to go on a trip.
Mom and dad for a while, right? I mean, selfishly, that's true, right? Because I mean,
well, when they're 20, they're like,
right? I mean,
they
can cook their own food and take care of themselves at that point, hopefully. But
and so often it's like everybody's experience is just their experience too. Because like my best friend from college, and I've talked about Rusty a ton. Rusty's dad, I mean, Rusty was the product of a second marriage, and his dad was in his. I think Big Russ was in his mid-40s. when they had Rusty,
Oh,
and so I mean, Big Russ is in his 70s now, and Rusty's 35.
Yeah.
So like, it's definitely just different. Whereas I've also got buddies that are, God, their dads are in their like late 50s.
Yeah.
Well, my wife's dad is just turned 60.
Yeah.
This is confusing.
Yeah. That was very
This
strange.
is not the way I'm used to seeing it. I didn't want to
strange.
be like the crazy old dad. That was my one thing. Like I didn't want to force it, but I also I want to be able to like halfway run around the soccer field when the time comes.
Yeah.
But that was never my sport, so I probably won't be able to. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to do what's right for you, right?
Exactly. Everybody's situation is different.
That was kind of our thing. It's like we wanted to, right after we got married, have a little bit of time to ourselves, kind of go do our stuff, and then but still have kids at not too old of an age. So like I mentioned there, it's like get them out of the house and then go do some more fun stuff again, as well. But do whatever works best for you guys.
100%.
So.
Can we talk sports? Let's talk sports.
Why would we talk sports?
It's almost like we've got a
'cause Mark's
sports
here,
guy in the stadium. We got a sports guy in the house. We got to talk sports.
Absolutely, man.
What do you want to talk about?
So, well,
every time.
You're uniquely positioned because we talk about sports a ton, right? Like, go figure, dads. All we want to do is talk about
No way.
the good
Really?
old the good old days back
Back
when
in
we
my
were
day.
halfway decent
Yeah.
at sports.
If Pistol Pete played now with the 3-point line,
he would average
with the 3-point
60.
line,
it's so much more physical than it was then than it is
Pistol
now.
Pete
God.
was like what, my size?
But he could shoot lights out.
He
let me
could
tell
shoot.
you.
I'm kidding. Pistol Pete was great.
Have you seen that movie? That was insane.
But you played college sports.
I did not play in college.
Did you? I wondered.
Yeah.
Did you play? Because I didn't remember. I knew you were a
No.
hockey player, but I didn't know. If
No,
it
no,
was-
no. I love hockey.
Is that what it is? Okay.
But I'm
I
a
had it
terrible
backwards.
skater. Horrible skater.
That makes three of us.
So I got bad info, but that's fine.
Horrible skater, but
Yeah, yeah.
I love hockey.
Okay.
The college I went to is a big hockey school.
Maybe that's what it
Okay.
was.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right. Nice.
yeah.
So, and then obviously that transitioned into a career in sports.
Mm-hmm.
And in sports casting and reporting and all that. Do you do like live color on sports ever? Do you get to do any of that kind of calling of games?
No, but I did in college, and it was
Okay.
the best.
Oh,
I used to
really?
do the play-by-play for our hockey team
Cool.
in college.
Oh,
On like we had a student run TV station that I did a lot of work with, and then we had a student run like play-by-play broadcasting thing where we had a play-by-play and a color for almost every sport. For almost every game that was at home.
Sweet.
And my senior year, I did every single home hockey game, men's game, play-by-play. And that was the most fun.
Dude, that's gotta be
The
awesome.
most fun, yeah. Especially hockey because it's so fast-paced. And trying to describe things in a million different ways. And I'm very lucky. I grew up a Devils fan in New Jersey. And do you guys know who Doc Emmerich is? Do you remember him? He was doing the NBC
definitely.
sports stuff. You don't remember?
I have his poster on my wall. Yeah.
No, you don't. You definitely don't.
No, see, hockey didn't make it to the Midwest until
Yeah.
like we were in
No,
high
that's
school.
fair. That's fair.
So like that was not really a thing. I mean, the Blues were, but that was
Right,
not.
and it's
in our neck of the
still
woods.
it's still making its way. Like
Right.
it's still not all the way there. But anyway, he was the Devils play-by-play guy for a long time. He went on to become the NBC sports guy for the playoffs and everything later in his career.
Okay.
He has since retired, but he was the best, and he would use all kinds of ridiculous words like sliced and knifed and pitchforked and
Sweet.
punched and all kinds of weird things to describe a pass.
Yeah,
you know,
but trying to
different
keep it
verbs.
interesting.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
so
Wow.
just trying to emulate him was just so fun, and I was much worse at it, of course, as a 21-year-old who didn't know what he was doing. But yeah, I did that in college. That was the best.
Cool.
The best.
Well, and you were learning, right? Nobody comes out of the
Right.
gate
Yeah.
and is really good. At
Oh, God,
anything.
no.
And
No.
so you're getting your at bats, and that's how you do it. So did that? So did you study journalism in school then,
Yes.
or how did that?
Yep.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on sports with Maddie? I mean, I know it's early, but have you started thinking about like where you want to get her involved? Are
Yeah.
you going to coach? Have you started
I
to have
definitely will
things-
not coach.
Okay, tell me more about that.
No
'Cause
way.
No.
Everybody has
No
such
chance.
big thoughts on that one way or the other, and it's not very often where people say, "I'm definitely not."
Yeah.
I'm
So tell
not
us why.
coaching. No, I want to enjoy whatever Maddie's doing from a parent's perspective. Like, I just want to be
That's fair.
dad.
Yeah.
I don't want to be her coach. And I see firsthand what coaches deal with parents, especially. Referees are the other ones. I'll never be an official.
right.
No.
I don't know
There's
why
no
anybody
winning.
is. And there's a shortage for a reason. And, you know,
Because the pay sucks and people yell at you.
I mean, the way parents act at some games, it just blows my mind.
Sure.
You know, it's like you would never ever say the things that they say or the way they say them to that person in any other setting.
Oh, right.
It's ridiculous. It's the same way people are online. You know what I mean? Like, you would never, the people that say things in a Facebook message or an email would never say those things to you in person.
No. That's keyboard warriors. Yeah.
So they're like the same thing in the stands. So I'll never be a coach because of that, because everybody thinks that they know best, and it drives me crazy. So that's the first thing. I guess in terms of what she'll do, Michelle and I always, we always bicker about. Michelle was a gymnast and a cheerleader, a competitive cheerleader in high school, and I ran track. And so I always tell her, I'm like, Maddie's gonna be really fast. She's gonna be a track sprinter. And Michelle's like, she's gonna be a gymnast. And I'm like, she's not gonna be a gymnast. She's gonna be a track sprinter. She's like, no, she's gonna be a gymnast. So we go back and forth. But whatever Maddie wants to do, Maddie can do. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that she hits the
Luckily,
track.
we do have track and gymnastics here in Missouri. But
actually, both of our kids do gymnastics at the exact same time at the exact same place.
Yeah. So
at least you have each other.
We know a good place if you guys need one. What about hockey though? I mean, you just mentioned you're a big hockey fan. Are you gonna push Maddie to?
If she wants to play hockey, she can play hockey. Yeah, there was a women's hockky team too that we used to do play-by-play for at my college.
Really?
They were also really good. Yeah, they still are.
Wow.
But I mean, I can't really teach her. I'll fall over if I get out there on the ice. It's been years since I put on a pair of skates and I could barely go forward when I tried it.
I have yet. Mostly because I still want my wife to think that I am at least slightly attractive. I've never put on skates around her.
You don't want to fall.
Because I am convinced that she'll take one look at me on the ice and go, Jesus, that's the guy I married?
Yeah,
there's no way
the wobbly deer stance.
Exactly, right? There's no way that newborn deer is that fat newborn deer is my husband. There's no way that I married that
I've never
person.
put on skates in general. And my wife thinks I'm the superior athlete between us two, and I'm not putting them on to keep us that way.
As long as they don't involve skates or rollerblades.
Right? I'm not your guy if that's the case.
Well, so let's talk about sports some more, though. But so I know you've made some cool trips for work in the sports related realm. Talk about some of your favorite trips or some of your favorite sporting events that you've gotten the opportunity to cover.
Yeah, I did get to cover the Stanley Cup Final when the Blues were in it in 2019,
really?
and that was awesome.
That
was really cool. I was at their final 2 home games of the series. Of course, they won it on the road in Boston, so I was at 4 and 6. They won 4 and lost 6.
Yeah.
And it was only the second time I'd ever been to the Cup final. I went when the Devils were in it in 2012, which they wound up losing the game we went to, unfortunately, in overtime. Not that I remember.
So wait, I'm hearing a trend here. Do you tend to go to the games where the team that is your team might lose?
No. But I actually was very lucky growing up and I was super spoiled. I grew up a Yankees, Devils, and Giants fan. So the Yankees won 4 titles by the time I was 9.
Yeah.
And then went twice more and lost. So they still went twice more.
Still got to go.
The Devils won 3 by the time I was 8 and went twice more and lost. And I'm just kind of and so I've had a very strange perspective on sports my entire life, having seen 12 championships by the time I was 10 years old.
Well, and obviously the Northeast being such a huge sports market in general, you never lacked for opportunity to see sports or to see a diverse kind of sports. Because in the Midwest, we joke about that all the time, where it's there's basketball and baseball and wrestling. And that's kind of what we've got around here.
Yeah.
And football, obviously.
Well, honestly, in Springfield, those are the 3 big ones.
Yeah, it is interesting as you go around though, where the Bears have a hockey team now.
Yeah, they do. And Drury.
2 hockey teams.
And Drury has a hockey team now. And I know a couple of the high schools when I was in high school 15, 20 years ago. Good Lord. Lacrosse was finally making its way to the Midwest.
Yeah, there's a couple.
It's funny, you talk about how the coasts get everything first and then it slowly trickles to the middle of the country. We're about, because how long has lacrosse been on the coasts?
Oh, forever.
60, 70 years. And it finally 15 years ago made it to the Midwest.
Yeah.
But that's interesting too, because hockey, the Blues, obviously an institution in hockey, but not that long, really.
No,
and
they're not that.
No, they were an
didn't make it
expansion
down
team.
here.
Yeah.
Right? Because when did they come to this? When did they go to St. Louis? That was in
probably in the 80s, I would guess, because there was a whole bunch of expansions in the 80s. That's when the Devils were in New Jersey, was 82, so it was probably around then. Yeah.
Just a very different thing. So you won't coach.
Yeah. I won't coach.
That might change too.
It might. Maybe for track. Because track is such a specific thing that nobody understands. Yeah. That parents usually don't complain because they have no idea what they're looking at.
What
you know what I mean?
What'd you do in track?
I was a sprinter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So for example, getting out of the blocks, the average person has no idea what that is. You know what I mean? They've seen it, but they don't know what it goes into doing it well. So that maybe
wrong,
track. Whereas baseball, everybody played baseball or basketball, so everybody thinks that's a travel. No, it's not a travel. Stop. Not everything's.
It's a Euro step. It's
not
allowed.
everything's a walk. Good Lord.
We're not in the 60s anymore, okay?
God.
Oh, no. Man, I say, like, the whole coaching thing might change, too, because, like, I've just noticed that at the couple practices I've been at with Liam and his T-ball team. Like, he has two coaches there, and they're both awesome at, like, I'm sure all of our kids are going to be the same, and, like, we're going to be super involved parents, right? And so we're going to, like, work with them, like, when it's not practice time, and do all this stuff with them, but not all kids are fortunate to have that, right?
That's true.
And so that's what I've really noticed watching these coaches help the kids on that team. It's like you can tell, like, probably half of those kids, they don't have that at home. You know?
Yeah.
And so these coaches, they're really good about spending time with these kids and helping them out. And so even because I was kind of like you, man, I was like, there's no way I'm coaching. Like, I'm too competitive a personality. Like, I want to enjoy.
He played college sports too, so it's like he's got a unique.
Yeah, you have a good perspective.
But now, like, after seeing that, and baseball's not even my sport, you know. And I'm like, shoot, I was like, I actually might enjoy that, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, keep your mind open.
Yeah.
It could change.
Well, when they're younger,
right,
especially,
sure.
I could see.
Once I get, like,
the high school
middle
stuff,
school,
man.
high school,
oh
no
my
way.
God, I don't know how they do it. Those coaches.
Yeah.
Well, and I've seen it because I joked about gymnastics earlier. Obviously, gymnastics was not my thing, but Elsie is a 2-year-old in gymnastics class right now, and the one thing I'm trying to teach her has absolutely nothing to do with gymnastics and has everything to do with listening to the coach.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I'm trying to take a step back because it's one of those, like, mommy and me, daddy and me kind of gymnastics classes where it's you and the kid out on the floor and they're basically just running around a gym.
Yeah.
We're not really
burning
doing
energy.
Exactly. But there are instances where the teacher goes through, the coach comes through and does stations. Okay, Elsie, it's your turn. So Elsie comes over and does a thing, but trying to get her to, hey, it's time to listen to the coach. And then I take a step back and I'm completely out of it. I'm not trying to say anything while the coach is talking to her. I'm not trying to, hey, you need to listen or any of that. I'm just taking a step back. It's coach's turn.
Yeah.
And then when Elsie doesn't listen to the coach,
then you step
I wait.
in.
I'm not going to freak out about it, but I'm going to take a step in after I catch her running away. It's like, hey, I understand that you want to have fun and I love that.
Yeah.
But this person is taking time to try and help you. You need to listen to coach. Now, I understand I'm telling this to a 2-year-old, so who freaking knows if any of it's actually
No, it's a great message, though.
But the idea is we're gonna learn early and often that the coach is here to try and help us.
Yeah.
So let's listen to what the coach has to say. Show them a little bit of respect because the whole authority figure thing is a huge deal for me. Like,
I think that's a great
huge amount
message
of
that you're
appreciation for
sending.
that.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's everywhere in life. Like,
Yeah.
you can't just say, like, I'm not listening to anybody.
Yeah. Right.
Well, good luck getting a job.
that's
and if you
not
get
how
one,
the
good
world
luck
works.
keeping it. You know what I mean? Like,
You better
can't
be
just,
a really good entrepreneur at that point.
Yeah, right, exactly. You better have some really good ideas and be really good at convincing people to invest in those ideas because otherwise you're screwed.
So freaking
You're screwed.
true.
So I think that's a great idea. And I mean, every sport has something like that translates into real life stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Well, and I didn't get that as a kid, right? I didn't get that as a high schooler where coaches were talking to me about adversity. I did not understand how that was going to apply to the rest of
You're
my
like,
life.
what does this have to do with anything?
Yeah. Well, you push through adversity. You have to learn how to work through adversity. Okay, my legs hurt and I got a stomach cramp because I've been running so much.
Right.
At football practice. Yeah, this sucks. Well, I didn't understand that was helping me prep for hearing no a bunch of times, trying to sell something, and how much of a suck that was.
And you're like, this sucks.
Yeah, this sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Still have to keep
Figure
working.
it out.
Still got to keep doing it.
Keep going.
Yeah,
I agree.
love it. But you, DC, what else do we have?
Man, I think sports plays such an important role, kids, because I know that's another conversation. I love that you brought that up because that's another conversation we had with some friends, and they were wanting to coach their kids because they don't want their kids taking direction from somebody else. And I'm
Interesting.
like, well,
that's backwards. Okay,
yeah,
that's
right.
different than my
That's
thought
kind of what I
process.
thought. I was
I
like,
agree.
well, that's kind of the whole point of sports is so that they learn to listen to somebody else besides you. But then, too, I mean, they brought up a great point as well, and they're like, well, we don't want somebody else teaching them the wrong things, right? So if we're coaches, we can control what they're learning and what they're hearing. And I'm like, okay, so I mean, there's two sides of that coin, right?
Yeah.
But I have some
That's
pushback
interesting.
on that. But like, wrong in whose perspective?
Right. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like,
Right.
Maybe
Right.
there's a professional coach that knows what they're talking about, but
Yeah.
the parent was like, "Yeah, but I know better."
Yeah.
Which goes right back to that conversation we were talking about with the
No, they
umpires
don't.
and the officials
Usually
and the parents and stuff.
they don't. And you know,
No,
I've seen
no slide on the people you're talking about, but just that is that thought process.
I've read articles and seen people make comments before about how it's usually the people in the stands who know the most who say the least.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've read so many articles where you see like, let's use Jackson Holiday, who just got called up to the Orioles, for example,
Yeah.
and his dad Matt,
So
right?
cool.
And you read about a guy like that growing up in high school, and you read about how those types of parents are the ones that they just sit there.
oh, right.
They're not bugging the coach because they get it. They've been through it. They know what that coach is dealing with. They're not going to go there and try and micromanage everything.
Yeah.
And so
You can have input at home,
sometimes-
right?
Exactly.
Like you can provide that
Exactly.
input when you're working out in the backyard,
Right.
playing
As you
catch
should.
or whatever. Yeah,
As you should.
but not when you're on the field.
Right.
Not when you're in practice.
You know, what's that old saying? Sometimes the people who speak the loudest, know the least, or whatever it is, something like that.
Yeah, 100%. Or and then you see the other side of that. Have you seen some of the interviews with like Christian McCaffrey about his upbringing, like when he was in high school, because his dad,
Yeah, his
played
dad.
in the NFL too,
And his older brother was a
Something
college
like-
player too,
yeah,
or something like that.
And
His younger brother too.
Younger
So,
brother?
in other words, it's an athletic freaking family,
Right.
But
Right.
the dad had them on like the craziest regiments of like. They were eating only, chicken and rice and broccoli, and
It
they were
worked.
on that kind of stuff.
worked.
But
Yeah,
obviously,
clearly
there
there's
was some
something to
wisdom
that.
to it because he's got 3 high-level athletes,
Yeah.
and he was obviously one too. So it is kind of interesting to see, like, again, the high-level people know what they're talking
right.
about,
Yeah.
and very well may not say a ton, but they know what they're talking
Right.
about.
And they
know
probably
how
do it
gets
behind
there.
closed doors.
Exactly.
They're
Right.
not going to show the coach up right in front of everybody.
100%.
Nor should they.
Right.
Yeah, oh,
You know?
Why didn't you sign up for this job? Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, man, I hate to change directions here on this because I love talking about sports. But
All good.
But Mark, we always have to talk about everybody's funny stories as far as involving kiddos, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got a 6-month-old.
Oh my
And it's your first child, right? So it's
Yep.
I know
It's all new.
it's all new. Like you have to have some good stories about Maddie.
Anything stand out to you?
So recently, she like projectile vomited on Michelle.
Sweet.
And she's done that to me like 10 times.
Yeah.
And
She's
so
used to it.
I told Michelle, I'm like, yeah, that's what she does in the middle of the night that I've told you like 5 times has happened to me. She's like, oh my God, I didn't realize there was so much of it. And the thing
Such a
that
small baby. How is there so much stuff in her?
how is that possible that all of that could come out? The thing that would always get me is that like she wouldn't do it until we sat down in the chair, right? So like
true.
I'm changing her, she's fine. Putting her in her Merlin suit, that puffy suit thing.
Aren't those hilarious?
So funny. We died laughing the first time we put her in that. It was the funniest
You're
thing.
right.
I was
Can't
crying.
put the arms down.
I was crying. So I put her in that. Nothing. Pick her up. Nothing. Walk over. Sit down in the rocking chair. Bang. Here it comes. All over me. All over the Merlin suit. All over the floor. So I'm like, all right, well, ditch the shirt.
Sure.
I'll keep the shorts on for now.
It's not that messed up.
Because it's kind of a weird situation otherwise.
Oh, man.
Take the Merlin suit off,
Yeah.
try and dry it off, do what I can with it, put it back on her. I'm like, well, now what do? I got to put her back to sleep, right? So just put her down in it. So that's one. And the other thing that she did the other night, I told you guys earlier that she was like rolling over and then waking up and freaking out. So she did this for about 2 hours the other night. Michelle and I off and on checking in on her. Finally, we were both like, let's both go in there. Let's change her diaper. She's dealing with a diaper rash. So I'm like, let's both go so one of us can like distract her and try and like calm her down while the other one changes the diaper. We're halfway to the door. Michelle's got the phone in her hand. Crying stops. She falls asleep. She waited for both of us to get up and be walking in there to go, I'm good.
Yeah.
Conked out. I was like, are you kidding me right now?
And then you got
not exactly how that works every single
Every
freaking
time.
time.
Yeah, and then you guys can't fall back asleep when you get
Oh,
into
not
that
for another
light.
hour.
Yeah, right? It's like,
Thinking I'm hearing her crying. It's
Oh,
just in my
dude.
head.
it's
you
the
know?
worst.
Have you mastered the technique of trying to stay half asleep whilst walking back and forth to her room? I discovered that
Man, I wish I could. That's pretty impressive.
Where I was like trying to hood my eyes, walking to Elsie's room and trying to okay, you're going to try to stay asleep. You're going to try to stay asleep. It didn't never really work. But you could just see me as a crazy person just like trying to keep my eyes halfway closed walking into Elsie's room.
Don't let the light in.
That's like,
keep the melatonin in my body.
Right? That's how, like Brody, like when he'd wake up at night and I had a pillow in his room where I was like, I'll just sleep on the floor till he falls asleep. You don't realize how uncomfortable a floor is until you try to fall asleep in it.
It's true.
It's like, dude, that didn't work either.
You're good as soon as you lay down, and then after like 5 minutes, you're like, okay, this is very uncomfortable.
This hurts. This hurts. I'm too old to do this.
You guys aren't as doughy as I am. I fall right asleep. I'm telling you.
This is comfy, actually.
Dude, I go, Elsie, so we have spent... we for the longest time we rocked Elsie to sleep and then would put her down in the bed while she was pretty much asleep, and that was our method. But now that she's in the big kid bed, there's no sides, so she can get out of the bed because there's no like crawling over the side of a crib. It's just a bed.
Just get out.
And so I have a little pillow set up next to the base of her bed where I will lay her down in bed. I'll turn on the little noisemaker, and then I'll lay my head down on the pillow next to her and just kind of reach up and pat her on the back a little bit or hold her hand for just what I expect to be a couple of minutes. And I actually have started taking my AirPods into the room with me, and I put the AirPod in my ear with loud music so that I don't fall asleep, because there have been several instances where I've rolled over like an hour later. I'm like, holy shit, I've been in here forever. I could have been like cleaning up the kitchen or going to bed myself, but no, I'm just passed out in my kid's floor, like halfway patting her.
This rug is so comfy.
I know, right?
I love this carpet.
Just sleeping
Hey, there's a dad hack for you right there.
It's
man.
so stupid.
God,
it's so stupid.
I know there was one more thing that you were wanting to bring up before we hop off here today. So what's something that you want to talk about?
I want to ask a question.
Oh,
it's the reporter in me. I have to.
Oh,
yeah,
you know, I'm so curious all the time.
Sweet.
I think this is really cool that you guys do this. I want to know what prompted this. Where did this come from?
Yeah.
Derek, this is your fault.
Yeah.
Tell him.
Yeah, I'll take the blame for it. So a couple reasons, right? Let's see here. I was Liam was probably like a year and a half old, maybe two years old. And similar to what I was talking about with Brody earlier, like he was in that terrible 2 stage, like throwing uncontrollable tantrums where it's like nothing that you can do could console them, right? And so like I'm like Bryant,
So me right now,
like Bryant was talking about,
so
like
me,
I am like struggling as a parent. I'm like, like what am I doing wrong? Like something is not working here, like and I just happened to go to an event where one of our buddies, Travis Lyles, he was there, and they have a little girl that's basically the same age as Liam. And so me and Travis were just catching up, and he proceeds to tell me about how he is really struggling with all these things that his daughter is going through. Same thing, terrible tantrums, can't stop them. They just, it is what it is. And so I'm hearing him tell this to me, and I'm like a weight was lifted. I'm like, man, like that feels so good to know that somebody else is going through this same thing, right? And so then I, kind of had the idea. I'm like, what if, we can share these stories with other dads, and they kind of get a little bit out of it as well too. So that was kind of the main reason behind it. And then, so I talked with Bryant, and then we selfishly kind of had another reason behind it as well too, because it's like we would like to look back 20 years from now, 10 years from now, whenever it is, and be like, oh yeah, this is the stuff that we were going through as dads. This is the small problems that we were dealing with.
This is a digital time capsule for us. That's
literally
true.
That's great. Yeah, you don't have to bury this one in the yard.
Yeah. So that's kind of like how it all started, and then now we're here, and
58 episodes in.
Yeah, and
it's amazing,
and it's funny too. Like that's kind of why it started.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've taken so much away from this with like
100%.
the dad hacks, or hearing the stories that other dads are sharing with us, and kind of like what they're going through, and it's like, wow, like I can learn, we can learn from them too.
Yeah.
And so it's been really
There
good.
are 3 things off the top of my head that I do every single day with my daughter that we have taken away from this podcast.
That's amazing.
Dad's coming in with dad hacks, talking about, it's the words of affirmation at the end of the day.
We do that every night.
It's the options thing where it's, do you want to walk outside, or do you want me to carry you outside?
Yeah.
But
both get them outside.
It both gets us to the
where
end
you
goal,
need to be.
but we're going to give them the opportunity to make a choice.
Yeah.
I use that every single day.
That's a great
There
idea.
are multiple things. And what Derek was too nice to say was that he had the idea for the podcast, and then he was thinking about his friendship circle, and he's like, who's dumb enough to say yes to doing a podcast?
Who's one of my loud friends that doesn't shut up?
Oh, Bryant, perfect. He's dumb enough. He won't say no to anything. Yeah, all right,
He'll do it.
Let's ask this idiot.
I could even do it in his house.
Win-win.
Spoiler alert, we're in my basement. But yeah, so we're having a freaking blast doing it too, right? Like part of
and that comes through.
Well, and that was part of the thing for us, that like a lot of our friend group that is our immediate friendship circle right now are guys and gals that came from Rotaract.
Mm-hmm.
And we all got too old, we all aged out of Rotaract, or we all, had kids, and all of a sudden you're spending more time in your family. You're not doing the, hey, let's go get a beer on Saturday night thing as often anymore.
Right.
Or the Thursday night happy hour just doesn't happen.
Right.
And so this was also an opportunity, again, selfishly, for us to get our buddies together and like, hey, let's go have a beer.
Yeah.
I mean, a coffee.
Have a cup of coffee.
Yeah, have a cup of coffee.
I'm going to be so jittery when I leave.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, this is an opportunity for us to just get together with our buds that we don't get to see as much anymore.
Right.
And just catch up. And also learn what they're doing and how we can steal it and apply it to our households.
Yeah.
So it's been fun. We really
it's been awesome.
Part.
I've watched a couple episodes here along the way, and you can tell you guys really enjoy it, which is why I needed to ask.
Good.
I'm like, I got to find out where this started.
Where's the origin?
Where did this come from?
Derek's a fame whore. That's all it is. He just really wanted to see that smiling Clark Kent-esque face in front
On
of the bright
camera.
lights.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
Well, that's fair.
So I guess we should get to everybody's favorite part of the episode, though.
Do you think Mark knows what everybody's favorite part is?
It's Dad Joke of the Week! It's everybody's favorite.
Telling you, he's going to hire you after this, man.
We just need you to record all these. We'll put them in a soundboard, and then we can just press buttons.
There you go.
Funnily enough,
and they'll just all play.
During the edit, I have a clip of Jeff Houghton when he was on the show that is in every single episode now. So when we get to Dad Hack, she'll hear Dad Hack alert. That's Jeff Houghton from his episode.
There you go.
So every dad worth their salt has at least one dad joke in their back pocket at all times. What'd you bring with you?
Okay, so I was telling you guys earlier that I come across them on Instagram and I send them to Michelle just to annoy her.
Yes, perfect.
So I can't really take credit for any of my dad jokes because I seem to find them all on social media.
Yeah.
Us too.
Okay, all right, good. I'm glad.
For the record, we've got 58 of these out there.
Zero original content.
As the newest dad in the room, I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one who stole this from somebody else. This probably isn't that funny either, which is probably why it's so good.
Keep downplaying it so it sounds better when you say it.
It makes ours sound better, too.
What's the cheapest concert you can go to?
Ooh, we haven't heard this one. Cheapest concert.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Go ahead.
Thinking so hard.
50 Cent featuring Nickelback.
Yes, dude. That's a good one.
Is that not the dumbest thing?
That's funny.
It's so dumb, it's funny.
That's awesome. DC, I'm going to go next.
Okay.
So we've got a news guy in the room, so I thought that I'd try to bring a news joke. Did you hear about the guy, actually, that was reported on KY3 recently that was going around stealing wheels off of police cars?
Yeah.
Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
I saw that story.
He's such a good yes and man. I love it. Yeah, the police were working tirelessly to catch him. That's the kind of joke that makes me laugh.
I get it.
That's the kind of stupid crap that makes me laugh.
I get it.
That's two good ones. Like I don't know.
Follow that, punk.
I don't know if we should have ended on mine, but we'll go with it. We'll go with it. Well, did you guys see that this was not reported on KY3? I just want to make that clear.
I see how it is.
But I did see I did see it on the news. I did see it on the news where scientists out in Utah discovered a fossilized dinosaur fart.
Okay.
Yeah. They're saying it's quite the blast from the past.
Oh my god. I'm so glad that was the one we ended on. That's so good.
Are they sure that wasn't the asteroid that made it?
Look at it coming in from the top row, bringing one in. I love it.
Oh man,
Thanks, man. That was good.
Gosh,
Wrap this up for us,
Those
DC.
3 good ones. Gosh, yes, love it. Love it. Well, we got to end the episode on, our decent dad's motto, keeping the bar within reach, right? But I mean, in all seriousness, we're here to build a dad community, share stories, share jokes, share dad hacks, whatever it may be. So if you have a good one, a good story, good hack, joke that works well for you, that you find funny, share with us. We can be found on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, on Spotify. We release episodes twice a month, second and fourth Tuesday of every month. So be sure and check us out there. Like, share, subscribe.
And we're on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Social media, yep.
Just if you want to get in the DMs and send us all your dad jokes so I can steal them because I'm running out of material.
That was a good one.
I'm impressed that you guys have done this almost 60 times and still have something.
So you were talking about seeing something coming across social media. It's all just ones that I have written down that I've seen on social media.
I have a folder in my photos on my phone. It's all
just
all
saving
dad jokes.
them.
Yeah. Screenshots.
Smart.
Any of them that sound halfway good. It's like, yeah, that one's mine. That's mine now. I'm taking that home.
I thought of that.
Heard it here first.
So I guess all we really have to say left is, hey, way to go, decent dad. You're
Appreciate
in the
you
club.
guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, buddy. Anybody else have anything else? Anything you want to plug? Anything at all?
I got nothing.
Bueller? All right.
No.
Well, thank you very much, man. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.
There's a line in a song. I'm trying to remember the name of the song. I think it's a Jason Cassidy song. It's a country song. And the line is, I get my cussing from my dad. No, I blame my cussing on my daddy and my good looks on my mama. I sent my dad the song and I'm like, well, the looks are not from you, that's for sure. I'm like, but the cussing sure is.
Maybe there's a little bit of truth to this.
He's like, you
This guy knows what
son
he's
of
talking
a...
about.